Oops. So I just realized that not everything is on my headphone. Now it is. Hello, everyone.
Hello. It's been a while. Hey, Manuel. Actually, can we turn this on?
Do you have a Substack link for me or for everyone? Or for me?
Oh, I forgot. I actually forgot to connect it up, I think. So we probably missed that one. Yeah, I should have fixed that.
Hello.
Oh well, it happens. Oh, sorry, that was me.
We tried to show the comments of people, but we're both clicking at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Sorry about that.
You know.
Let me fix Substack real quick. I'm not sure. Yeah, I deleted it when we moved it, which is my bad. Oh no, we didn't. I still have the stream key. Cool. So it will work. Just let me update it. Now let me see if I can remove Substack and add it back.
That's one of the strange things about Substack, because I can't really see that you are streaming right now on Substack. Maybe it takes a little
I'm not
while.
streaming on Substack right now. It was.
That's probably the reason.
Yeah, it was on the. I did a live stream on last Tuesday, I think Monday. So I changed the keys. For those of you listening in, we had a sick day, so we moved the previous Wednesday stream that we had scheduled to this week. Which, of course,
I actually still have my sick day, but it's becoming better, and I was.
Yeah, I mean, you do sound a lot better. So
I do. Yesterday it was worse. I was streaming yesterday as well, and I was happy that I was not coughing through the session. But yeah, it was okay, I think.
Yeah, I'm just waiting to see what happens with Substack. Maybe this worked, maybe it didn't. So I updated the stream key and
hello, Osman again.
Updated the stream key and reconnected Substack. Maybe it didn't work. Either way, let's start the show.
There are always some victims.
Always something going on. It's all good. Hey, the chat is working. I like that.
Yeah.
We probably have to update the layout a bit because it will cover your face at some point when.
No, it's no problem. I can move myself to the left so it covers your face. So I have no
so
problem
with
that one.
Yeah,
just need to find solutions as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, go for it.
I don't know where the button is. So show comments on stage. Is it that one?
Yeah, that's the
button. It was online. It's this box there, but there are no comments. Where are the comments?
Yeah, because you just toggled it. It's not. It doesn't keep the backlog. It just shows new ones, and then you toggle, and then they go away.
That's cooler on Restream, to be honest.
Yeah. But it's the first time that we can have like live chat without us putting it on stage.
Because we are too lazy for OBS, you mean?
Hey.
I have actually an OBS setup, but every guest doesn't have that, and you need to have like it is more convenient these days to use tools like StreamYard or Restream, even though they are pretty expensive. Yeah. Anyway, everything comes with a price, and today we're talking about the price actually, and that's the price. Can you phrase it like that? Probably the price of AI in terms of engineering culture, so high performing engineering cultures. What does that actually mean? So we hear often, very, very often lately on LinkedIn and other platforms that AI benefits a lot from high engineering cultures. So especially the older ones, like the older ideas like XP, TDD, those kind of practices, continuous delivery anyway. I think that that there is a lot of truth to it, because I'm using it myself, and you try to work with these kind of things to let's say have the ongoing feedback loop you need, because you need to stay in a feedback loop as a human being, because it is nice to have something so powerful like modern AI tools. And I really have to say GPT-5 is a monster when it comes to it. It's so fucking intelligent, really. It is. I'm. There's another topic for later maybe, but it is hilariously good, way better than Claude Code is right now.
I didn't try it yet.
It is so good, really. It is so good. I just realized it is. There are solutions that should so cheap right now. Anyway, that's another topic. So these kind of tools are extremely fast. So, and I did that yesterday as well. I preached a lot of things which you should do when you do agentic. The problem is I wasn't doing those yesterday because I was in the stream doing this, doing chat. I need to do this. I have time frame, and suddenly I was back in this. Just let's quickly do it. It's a demonstration anyway. I totally switched my mindset, my idea, my goal, and if that happens to you in real production, it's very bad. I reverted the code after the stream yesterday because it wasn't good. I don't want to have code like this, especially not code where I have way more tests than I expected to have for such a thing, because there was not behavior testing. It was basically a functional testing, which I don't need actually basically why, because all the functionality we had there was already tested somewhere, so there is no need for this one. And it was going wrong, and the reason for that one was that I basically built the thing in a large batch size, right? So I basically did a large thing at once. And good engineering practices always tell you to not do that, right? So it is a little bit like, think about what you want to test and how things behave up front, and work in iterations on these things down. I haven't done that yesterday, even though I'm thinking in those kind of things, and I know how much better they perform, and I was actually there to showcase it, but I didn't do it. And that is one of my concerns, that AI is leading you, is pulling you towards doing these sloppy things, this sloppy way, because it's like, oh, you can do that, just try, you can revert anyway. It's a little bit like that. And when it will become cheaper, the tendency will be even more to go into direction. After the show, I was talking to other people in DMs who are posting as well as about these, like agentic together with TDD, and they taught me they have the very same aspect. They feel it every day, and this is the inner resistance of us trying to go the least path of resistance, which is just go ahead. The AI is good enough, so maybe this time it's a little bit of gambling as well. So maybe this time will be better magically, and that is what concerns me most currently, because I know what is good, but I'm not doing that always myself, right? That's one of my concerns, and that is definitely so. The thing I showed yesterday is, if you would do that in a team, it would be a very bad engineering culture.
Agreed.
And that is the reason why I want to.
I did rewatch the stream you did yesterday.
Exactly,
and I did notice that. I would have called you out on it if I was live in chat.
Yeah, that's the point. So that's one of the issues when you are under pressure, that those kind of things lead you towards a very bad thing you do. That's one of the reasons why so since I will going to stream every Tuesday and Thursday right now, that's one part of my new Adrian Builds thing. I will not do a laboratory thingy anymore where I say I'm going to do this now because it's an artificial thing. I will do it more like in a fashion of I will really show what I do, how I do that, and it takes longer. Because in reality, I try to prove something in a way too short time frame. So I set myself a unusually, let's say, bad time frame, like a 60 to 90 minutes time frame for such a feature, which was bullshit. And that was one of the main reasons I tried to get it done somehow. And this is typically, in a nutshell, how you shouldn't do that, because you need to get that done in the time frame thing.
What I have to call out there, what you just said, is that normally I would agree with that kind of framing, but I know that you're doing that kind of coding end of day after work hours, and you're giving yourself a 1 hour to 2 hour time frame when you only have 1 hour to 2 hours. Right? So you're kind of running your AI session at capacity, but you're kind of multitasking in between because there are natural interruptions in the workflow that you can then use to sort of splice in rest, or splice in reading something, or splice in doing domain discovery, really, or just reading up on documentation or other tasks. I can't comment on whether that's, like, we titled the episode today for high performing engineering culture. So I want to separate out, like, how are you using it as an individual versus how is a team using AI? And
I know it's like we use it in a team. So I am a team as well. So I'm just not talking about the team because the team doesn't want to. But that's one of the main issues I think with right now with teams in general, is that you have a lot of individualists in teams. So everyone wants to use the favorite AI agent, the favorite model, the favorite way of working. Someone is more vibing, while the other one is, just having a chat somewhere and posting here and there some tips and tricks how I can do code. So that's, I think, the first issue, is that there is actually not the idea that, hey, we are a team, we need AI. AI is introduced by individuals. Look at all the people posting on LinkedIn. They all say, I'm using that on my side project. Maybe we can have that in a team.
It's similar to how linters and similar tools were first introduced in the late 90s, early 2000s, where it was first limited to premium license holders of IntelliJ or Visual Studio. And it wasn't part of the code base. There was no CI/CD pipeline, so the linting happened in your IDE. So it was a premium feature in your IDE. And everybody was using a different IDE. So everybody's IDE had different opinions about how code should be formatted, how strict the lexing should be. And I think or tabs versus spaces, but that's the silly end of the spectrum of those kinds of issues. But I feel like we're doing that kind of renaissance again when there's like a disruption in the, let's call it like a software engineering tool chain is experiencing a disruption right now. We're sort of exploring agentic versus IDE versus autocomplete versus CI/CD pipeline, agent in pull request mode. Which one, what are we doing? And there doesn't seem to be a clear winner yet. So I would encourage people to experiment, but like, it's not healthy if you have 5 people on your team and everybody's running a different experiment, and they're running it at the same time, and they're stepping on each other's toes, and nobody's really measuring anything. Nobody's really coming in with a hypothesis of this is good, this is bad. I think that's the more negative aspect of it. It's like, yes, this is sexy, this is fashionable, let's do AI, and then every engineer does their own thing, and then it's just a little bit too much chaos.
After one, let's say the second month of using Cloud Code, very intensive, we came together as a team, and there was this thing, and like, my colleague asked me, why do I spend so much more money than you do actually with Cloud Code? What is the difference? We're working on the same thing. And I was then showcasing that in the team session on a feature, a little bit like in the stream. but of course with way better practice, because it was mainly about the planning thing, and there was way deeper in context and these kind of things. And there was this aha moment, the aha moment for two colleagues, and for me, because I was assuming that my colleagues were doing it in a very same way, because we have talked
No,
about it
very
verbally
different
very often.
workflows.
But it
Very
is
different
like
workflows.
people understand about even the term vibe coding alone. Everyone understands something entirely different under that. For me, it's still the wishful thinking, don't look at code black box thing, while agentic is more the stuff I wanted to showcase yesterday. So it's the world in between, it's the enhanced way of traditional working. And there's the traditional work without AI, right? And that was so interesting to see that everyone in the team looks and uses AI totally different. And people were actually like, I realized that there was some kind of hesitation to actually use agents after they saw that they wanted to use the agents. But there is a little bit like, oh, now they are at this point where I was 1.5 months ago, where you are suddenly in this gambling mode. What can this funny machine do? So you try to test things. How far can this thing go? Because you actually need to understand the agent and the LLMs and how those two layers of these agents work, because otherwise you can't predict what actually happens. Sometimes during the process, so especially in the beginning, you need to plan a lot. You need to slice things into iterations. You need to understand what the AI can do with that iteration and whatnot. That's a big learning of my side, and on my side. And the other thing is, the extremely interesting thing is that you need to understand where the actual limitations are. So what can the AI not do? And if you don't know these both things, so the both extremes, what's possible, what's not possible, you basically cannot really work with that. And the natural way of doing that is actually people spending money and testing it out. So many developers suddenly start to actually do vibe coding because they want to try. But the problem is, on a side project, there is no problem. They can do that. It's a big problem if you would try that in a 5-person team on a real project while you're doing continuous delivery. That is not good, because especially when you do it like I was doing yesterday, that could be a problematic thing. So if you do one thing like that, and a little bit of technical debt, you can fix that. If everyone is doing that for a week, you have a problem.
Yeah.
Period. That's it. That's it. And that needs to be concerned. So as soon as you're in a professional area, you need to make sure everyone understands what agentic means and how it's actually working. And the thing is, Cloud Code is totally different than Juni, for example. They literally work differently. There are different LLMs, different tool layers, different behaviors, different modes.
What did you notice with Juni?
Juni was crap in the beginning. I was actually ditching it away. I was uninstalling it, and there was a recent update came out together with GPT-5. And I'm now, let's say, it's my go-to thing now. And the reason for that, it is limited in price, but doesn't seem to have a limit right now, which is pretty nice. But that's not the main aspect. The main aspect is it is getting things very well. And when you ask for behavior-driven testing, it delivers the behavior-driven testing. Cloud Code doesn't. Cloud Code always fall back to basically functional testing somehow.
Yeah.
So sometimes it does, especially when you define, you can do that. But when you work with AI, and that's important for a team to understand, that is actually something you need to understand as a team. You cannot define everything. So there's always this gap in between. And the good thing about the AI is it can fill those gaps, and it will fill those gaps. The question is what the AI fills there good or not? And how deterministic and how predictable is that in a team? So if it's totally different for every engineer and the gaps are wide, you have a huge problem. And we had yesterday a lot of gaps because, I asked for 3 tests because I was obviously too lazy. I said that in that moment, and I saw it created me 3 test groups of functional testing when I asked for behavior. And it was actually crap what it was testing. So if I would just accept that, it would be a huge pain for the entire team.
I also started. So first of all, I just want to recognize our audience. Marcus joined, Colette and Alex joined on Substack.
Oh,
Hey
James,
guys,
I didn't saw that. Your comment didn't
James.
went through.
Yeah, James's comment didn't go through on from LinkedIn. So hi, James. James is one of our regulars and long time viewers, possibly one of the longest still sitting regulars. James says, "Hello. I wish I could listen more. No longer work from home, so hard to flex my time. Looks great. Looks like a great topic." James, if you'd like to watch the recording, or if you're interested in the blurbs, we will send those out. Don't worry, we got your back. Then there's Osman with a comment, with two comments. Osman says, from what I've experienced, there are thousands of ways to go about shipping a software increment. Thanks for covering my face, Adrian.
You told me my face will be covered. Mine is not covered.
No, but it's on the screen. It's sufficiently on the screen in the bottom right. Trying to find a workflow that works for everybody and every situation is far-fetched. However, if you look at some feedback like Dora metrics, monitoring user input can help you know if you should do more of what you're doing or change the approach. Also, I find having a clear separation between what your core logic is and paying full attention to that and infra, and considering that throwaway code that you can fully delegate to AI and just blow it away anytime you don't like it. So thank you, Osman. I have similar. I think you and I have more similar like overlaps in how we're using AI than me and Adrian right now. So I don't code with Cloud Code. For me, Cloud Code is still, it's too experimental for me to take seriously for production. I am making experiments with it, but it's not part of my toolkit. It's one of those things that I'm trying out, but I'm not online on it. So I also started with a new team a few weeks ago, so I've been super busy with that. So, and they're not heavy AI users right now, not heavy agentic AI coding users right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure everybody has Copilot, but I haven't dug that deep yet. So, like from my perspective, what do you even want to focus on, Adrian? What will be interesting to discuss?
High-performing engineering culture in AI first era.
Thanks. No, so I'm thinking, so we can talk about our habits, we can talk about the tool chain, or we can talk about the effect it has on continuous delivery. Which one do you think we should
I think the culture is mainly the team. So we have discussed already team. That is very important. So maybe we can conclude this first to how to actually make it right. We haven't talked about that. We have only talked about what went wrong. So as an example yesterday, if we would do that in isolation, each person alone, it would be a horrible situation for everyone. Don't do that. So you need to have, as always, in a good engineering culture, you need to have common denominators. You need to have guidelines where you basically agree on, right? So starting, as you said, from things like how to format code. You don't want to have this. There was 10 years ago this idea. It is so advanced, everyone can use its own formatting, which was nonsense, actually, because there's no use to it, right? So get used to, so don't be too dedicated to a specific formatting type. So just, get over it, work with the team. That's a good mental experience as well. And try to find those things. And with AI, it's the very same thing. So you need to understand, so which agents we use, what is the context we use, when do we use it? So we shouldn't, in my opinion, we shouldn't do everything with AI. We should do research with AI, knowledge-based research, like Augmented is a very great tool, maybe helping us reviewing code automatically, like CodeRabbit. Interesting experiments I do there right now. This is where you definitely should use it. And when it comes to agentic, it is only then really useful when you have something where you really can save time when you need it. For example, front-end development, you have a lot of scaffolding going on. You need to set up 20 files or something like that. Their AI is really good in helping you. And, it knows its pattern. It is 90 to 95% accurate in those kind of things. That is a good thing. But you shouldn't use it for like every vibing little aspect, because what you do as a team there is, you start on some point with, let's say, 90% of good knowledge sharing. I just point that out right now. This is the starting point. But when you keep it like this, doing everything with AI and too much with AI, that basically lowers, which means the AI knows more in context files you don't read anymore because they are too long and you don't follow them. And you basically lose knowledge as a team. And as soon as you do that, you are more reliant on the AI agents, which means that you as a team becomes worse and you are overly reliant on those or dependent on those AI agents. And that is something you definitely should avoid. So the initial thing where seniors say AI really supports seniors right now who know what they do, who experience C's in person, you need to keep that. That is important, right?
Yeah.
It should not deteriorate over time just because you cannot do coding yourself anymore because you get used to chunk out 10,000 lines of code per week, right? And you don't know exactly how to manage it without AI anymore. If you are in that situation, you have done something severely wrong.
Yeah, we have some
You
comments
shouldn't
on
do
it
that.
as well in chat already. So let's close out on this, and then let's focus on the high-performing teams cultures and the impact on continuous delivery. We have a comment from a gentleman called Soundwaves. Hey guys, in my opinion, I feel like the issues people think are the AI's fault or bad build is actually lack of self-discipline and for correct prompting. Also known as prompt engineering. Calian says, hot take regarding high-performance culture. With what you've seen so far, do you think AI-first approach does more help or harm to promote the best practices established so far?
Let's go for the
Those are
first comment.
all. So the first comment. What do you think, Adrian?
So prompt engineering is a big topic right now. So the prompt engineering is the idea, and we saw that yesterday, that you spend most of the time in the first session where you actually plan the first big thing.
Big master prompts. We had a full episode with that with Paul Hammond. So the gentleman on YouTube, if you want to check out our library for the episode with Paul Hammond, Paul ran us through a full feature, live coding on stream while discussing how he prompt engineered his master prompts. Huge value, very eye-opening, but it's still not, it's not what you would consider deterministically senior level quality on the, or at least senior level quality without regressions. I think that would be like a better standard. But it seems we're getting closer. Or at least
every day. So I can state the same. So if you really take care of the prompts you create, so you have, so a prompt is not just a text thing in Claude Code, right? It is like something you prepare outside of the AI agent. There's a planning thing. It's your tests inside there, the iterations you want to do, sorry, all the references you have. You put those things together, and then you go at best in agents like Claude Code, you go into planning mode and get a reconfirmation of that the AI has actually understood everything. And then you already see, oh, that plan is actually quite long. And that is the moment where you should restart your prompting. And that's part of prompt engineering as well. So what actually works? And we have this so-called token windows where Claude Code is start to auto-compacting the session. If you run into that, you can basically shoot your head because that's done. Session is over, you can restart. So that's actually one of those things no one is talking about, because what actually happens is instant dementia. A new agent is coming in, getting a short summary of what actually happens, and restarts by searching the entire code base for information what's actually going on. If you are running that situation, your quality is like a little bit like, oh, good quality, and suddenly it drops. And you don't want to
just spend hours.
And that you need to know and understand in your prompt engineering as well. That's the reason why vibe coding and Lovable is not really working for production grade things, because it's constantly running into those.
In the communities with who have, like, let's say, high performing cultures, so continuous delivery, everything you'd consider modern software engineering, so very close to or exact chunk-based development, continuous integration, delivery, very much behavior focused on the testing side, a lot of tests written before implementation, reasonable discourse with product. The sentiment there is that they're already very high performing, so they're looking for areas where AI would accelerate. So they're not using it for coding, because coding is not their bottleneck. They're using it for what work did we filter out because a human would take a long time, so didn't even consider it. So what's on the table that was filtered out if a human had to do it, right? So it's like doing it from the lens of, well, I can't translate 10,000 things right now and components and localized components because it'll take an engineer too long. Let's triage and let's start with 3. But an AI would be able to do that. Like you'd organize the project very differently if you said a human is not allowed to do this. We're not going to do this if a human is doing it. We're only doing it if we can leverage some kind of pattern matching with the AI. That I see a lot of. But very strategic, very much, it's like, oh, this has been a thorn. Like, we need to switch some library, but it comes with like SDK updates that nobody benefits from. It's just a bunch of like labor. So it's very resource intensive for very very limited benefit, but it's an enabler for like connecting or interfacing with a different SDK or the different kind of platform. With those kinds of tasks, I think like targeted strategic conversations are happening. But it's in these teams especially where I see a huge sort of withdrawal from AI tools. So people turning off their copilots, people turning off their agents, because it's just annoying, because they're just used to like getting stuff done on their own pace and it's enough. And all of the AI gobbledygook gets in the way, unless they're consciously experimenting. That's what I'm seeing in high-performing teams. What the other thing that high-performing teams are doing, and I'm doing as well, but they're almost all teams that I'm coaching, is we are using AI in administrative tools. So usually the MCP tooling in AI, for example, the MCP tooling in Linear, the MCP tooling in Notion. So a lot of my teams use Notion, a lot of my teams use Slack, a lot of my teams use Linear. And it's great to have conversations for anomaly detection. It's like, hey, what conversations did I miss in the past 2 weeks that had a negative sentiment towards leadership? Right? And it finds those, right? And that's very valuable, because then you don't need a meeting, right? It's like generally, okay, is information out in the open? Is work in progress happening out in the open? If the answer is no, then I need to have a meeting to get this information, to create discussion that recreates this information, because it's never really compartmentalized in the right way for it to be found. Same thing with tickets. It's like, hey, do we have any anomalous spikes in progress? Was anybody assigned that didn't make progress? Generally, you would have to do it with like complex SQL queries or Jira queries, which I love, but it's not really valuable. With AIs, I can just bridge the barrier a lot faster. Another usage I'm seeing a lot is, hey, there's this, I took Notion notes in like 12 different meetings this week. Give me a summary across all 12 meetings. Which issues are reoccurring? And then I add the transcripts from those meetings. For example, we're using Gather. Gather has you can have like a bunch of ad hoc conversations, and when you record those, you can have Gather. Gather has an experimental feature that you can opt into to do AI transcripts of all the recorded conversations, even if they just happen ad hoc. So you just end up with like a folder of like transcripts for like a full work week. And then I can just toss that into Notion along with the notes that I was taking and the ADRs that we made and the tickets that we made. And just ask it, hey, like, are these and this and this and this would be like a problem area that requires my attention. Which of these is reoccurring with high frequency? And I just toss in the...
Can you give a little bit about information around the companies, how they are structured, how many teams, how large are the teams, company size, area?
Engineering departments of 10 to 20. Like, all of my teams are about that size. And I'm also working solo with a few leaders. So I'm not working with their teams, just with them, usually CTOs or would be CTOs soon. doing like a strategic shift from like
But,
founding
but
engineer
never,
to
let's say,
CTO.
solo founders. We don't work with solo founders, but solo persons in companies.
Yeah, so I am coaching only them, not their teams, but the teams are generally that large. So I have 2 engagements with teams where I am coaching the teams, and I have a few engagements where I'm only coaching the CTO, but the teams underneath them are that size. On the lower ending, like the lower performing end of the more struggling teams, let's say, those who know that they just have problems and they ask me to come in, help them sort of help with those. I think Callaghan's comment on that was very much on point. He said, considering that elements are trained on a lot of code, a lot of average code, you can see how the output will feature what LLM statistically considered the best match, and that will be the average code. Well, the best practice code appears rarely, and thus being more exotic will not be as good of a factor. I think this happens on all levels. So, yes, this is true, but average code is also good enough. And average product understanding is good enough. Like if I take a really good engineer and I can just give them for free average skill in everything else other than what they're good at, that's a huge win. Wow, now James's comment came in. No, that's James's comment that came in from the past, from like 20 minutes ago. Yeah. No, the
Never
API,
mind.
the API keeps having. Hello,
We're
James.
talking,
I appreciate
we're
you.
talking to a ghost of the past now.
Yeah. But we already addressed this comment. So what's happening is that the lower ending, like the low performing teams, what's happening there is I keep having these conversations. So it's positive. It's positive. But what I'm asking them is just don't go crazy. Use it, like turn on your Copilot, experiment, but please don't go crazy. Right? And I use it as a positive to say, look, you guys don't follow continuous delivery. You don't do continuous integration. You don't do trunk-based development. But your leadership wants you to do AI like there's no tomorrow. So the advice on the street right now is that the engineering practices, which are very good for high-performing teams, are exactly what the AIs need to also not produce complete garbage, so that they become a little bit more useful rather than just a complete waste of time. So it goes from toy to professional tool. It takes the written down brain of a professional modern software engineer as a prompt for the AI to turn it from like a little toy and little gadget into a professional tool. So I tell them, good, use the AI craze to get leverage and resources to introduce extreme programming practices into the team. But then focus on teaching it to the humans first.
Yes.
Don't just we do cowboy gobbledygook on the human side, and then with the AIs, we do something we never did before. That's crazy. Then I say, no, okay, so the AIs are proven to produce crap if you just prompt willy-nilly, especially on a large team
when
all
the gaps
time.
are too large, too wide.
And the gaps are too large and it's inconsistent, and you're just gonna create 10 times your normal amount of PRs, and there will be 10 times your normal size, and they're already too large when produced by a human. So don't think that you can sort of outsmart yourself.
Not to speak about the sunken cost fallacy. Many developers don't want to not use code AI has just generated, but they are not happy with that code. They wouldn't never basically commit it by themselves, but since they have paid something, or it's like effort or time, and they tend to repair it somehow and push it out because done it's done, right? But that's wrong. So it is you don't meet the qualities, so you degrade quality over time, which is very bad in that moment.
So what I'm telling them is, cool, but let's make it 2 separate initiatives. In order to adopt AI, you need to learn, let's say, extreme programming practices so that you can explain it to the AI. But in order to do that very quickly, let's adopt extreme programming practices in your human workflow first, right? And then that's a double benefit. So I'm optimistically using the AI craze to get good modern software practices onto the team's workflows, onto the team's continuous improvement initiatives. even though on paper it looks like senior leadership is pushing for AI adoption, and we're using that to drive continuous improvement in the team, which to me is a win. It's a bit tongue-in-cheek, but that's like the most positive, optimistic twist I can put on what's currently happening with the.
I agree, and I think we are not the only ones who are talking about this. That AI is actually pushing the older traditions more forward, because since things are moving faster now, you need to become better in order to stay in control.
Yeah.
That's the simple thing, and that's another concern for people who need to keep up, like juniors. On the one side, juniors can learn faster with AI. On the other, how do you actually manage and control what they learn? So we had a lot of time in our lives to learn as juniors. So
Yeah.
most of us had 3 to 5 years in a junior session, right, to actually get into the position where you were responsible for something. And today it's a little bit like, oh, you have done your bootcamp, great. Here's an AI agent. You are a fully employed engineer now, right? He's full stack or fuller stack engineer, even with database and stuff, something like that. And that is dangerous because, of course, AI will bring you somehow to something. And that is more the thing you see in startups where people try to get out something and you have a lot of, lot of need for generating things. And that is, the area where you have prototypes as well. And that's the reason why we see way more prototypes today making it into production than it was in the past, because it is way easier to build those, but people still don't want to throw away things. So we read in the comment today, throwaway code. We see it everywhere, throwaway code, but no one is throwing away something. That's the problem, because everything is
good.
costing money.
It's easy to call it throwaway code. What's difficult is actually throwing it away.
Exactly.
It's actually
really saying,
I will commit it. I will commit it to the code base. We will use it. We will refine it. We will review it. We will put it in production. And then we will also throw it away and remove it from the code base. Right? Like that's that life cycle. It's easy to talk about it, but it's much harder to commit to it, right? Because if you want to throw away code, it needs to be able to self-destruct. And if it's not able to self-destruct, it'll probably stay.
It is a prototype. It's a test. It's a hypothesis, and then you go for the real one.
My advice to this is, I'm also coaching some staff engineers because they I don't know why, but all teams stopped hiring agile coaches, engineering managers. Everybody wants like TPMs and staff engineers to run their engineering teams, which is interesting. Which is something I've also been chatting around with the lead dev community, that this is happening a lot, and seemingly in Europe. I'm not sure why, but that's what I noticed. Anyway, with staff engineers especially and senior engineers, there seems to be this focus on not like degrading in quality, but being more pragmatic with the outputs of the LLMs. So with regards to waste creation, right? So I'm not going to accept a solution that it works if it's needlessly 1,000 lines of code, but could be done by a human in 150, even if it was faster, just because of the review burden it creates, or because of the depth burden it creates. And so there is that understanding being shaped by the more senior, like 10, 15 plus years of experience engineers that are regular AI users like yourself, where there's that, yes, it solves my problem, but I don't like how much waste was created in order to achieve it. You know what I mean? So yes, for a prototype, no problem, but I don't want it to make it into the code base. It's not quite refined. And it's very hard to have the LLMs.
But I saw that what you just said already in the very beginning with the juniors I had back then. That was in the early days of
what I want to
ChatGPT.
mention. So what I want to mention is that, yes, same problem with the juniors, no doubt. We've discussed that numerous times. What I'm aiming towards is that idea that I always say this mantra that the high-performing teams are for the most part the same. My high-performing culture that I coach is 90% the same as your high-performing culture that you coach. It's the same thing that Kent Beck is talking about. It's the same thing that Dave Farley is talking about. It's the same thing that's going on at M26. It's the same thing that's going on at the more sort of leaner side at the big tech companies, right? So all of the teams that are high performing are for the most part the same. All of the engineering teams, which are the vast majority, everybody else who is struggling, they are all uniquely different. So all of the teams that are adopting AIs and agentic coding or like copilots or like in-browser LLMs, in IDE LLMs, they all have their unique stupid thing that they're doing. And I don't find it valuable to stay on track of like what their unique stupid thing is that they came up with, because where I'm coming from is just looking at the team. If the team is struggling, I'm assuming they are working at like 5% baseline performance, and they're using pressure and like meetings and deadlines to get it up to like 10 to 15%. What most people then organically reach to when I explain this to them is like, okay, Dennis, then how do we double it? How do we go from 5 to 10 or from 15 to 30? And that's the wrong question. And I always tell them that, yes, you're listening, thank you, but that's exactly the wrong question. Because the right question is, the team would be performant if you left them alone. It's very easy to adopt very good high performance modern practices. It's for the most part a solved problem, empirically solved, not scientifically. But if you just follow the stellar advice that you can get nowadays, even just off of the internet or from the recent books, and most of the books are 20 and 30 years old, so it's not brand new science. It's very easy to replicate, which means that your potential is available, but something's suppressing it. Something is suppressing the team's productivity, and something at some point, somebody in the organization saw that this suppression was a solution, a well-meant solution to a deeper problem. This is what I'm dealing with in coaching, is that there was like an emergency and then there was this solution, or there was a lack of trust and then there was this solution, or this company is the result of two companies one company splitting in two, and now we have much stricter engineering practices and 2 people doing reviews, or it needs review from 3 people, or I got burnt, and then there's this like heavy-handed process now, right? So somebody at some point thought that the thing that is suppressing productivity was a benevolent solution to a deeper problem. And the engineering teams are struggling underneath this, and they have no idea what that root cause problem is. Right? So I'm coming at it from this perspective of the productivity is there, and if you just stop suppressing it, if you learn why your organization is suppressing modern software practices, why is your organization suppressing drum-based development? Why is your organization suppressing TDD? Why is your org suppressing pair programming and ensembling? Maybe the developers are self-censoring. They are suppressing it themselves. They say, yeah, we should,
that's
but we
what
know
I
we're
see
not.
very often. It's not always the organization.
Exactly. It's the developer self-censoring. It's like, no, it's not allowed in my org. And I agree. It's like, I don't want to have that fight. Right? So that's happening. So that creates an environment that lacks psychological safety. So if you tackle that, if the AIs are helping tackle that, go for it. But there's a difference. You can have a junior in this kind of environment, and you take the suppression away, and they will grow very quickly. The same thing does not happen with an AI. An AI isn't by default highly performant using modern software practices. You can teach it like the modern software practices, and it will not be as performant as an unsuppressed team. So the big benefit on the low performing end that Kaloyan mentioned, that most output is average, there are some low performing teams out there that are so low performing that the garbage output from the LLMs is better than what they usually produce. And that's what I'm seeing. And that I wouldn't act on as a positive. That one I would act on as, look, the output is the output is average, you know it's average, and it's better than what you usually produce. So take that as a signal now to like take your continuous improvement initiatives a little bit more seriously, because your humans can do a lot better than this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like show them support. But these, on the surface, these look like the same, but they're very, very different situations. And I feel like there's a lot of teams out there who are just so sluggish and slowed down, who think that vibe coding is the solution because the average output produces so much code that they could never organically pass through code review in their like overly bureaucratic systems. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that on the surface looks like it's like the El Dorado and the holy grail of like software engineering and coding, but it's just another confirmation signal that there's something wrong with your already, you know, well ingrained practices done by the humans, regardless of whether they're using AIs or not. And humans will be, for the most part, using some kind of copilot or something similar, or meeting AIs, Gemini, Notion AI. Like I think more people use MCPs than they're aware of.
Are
And
there
that's a
actually
good thing.
so many low-performing teams which are actually using AI in production? So I basically never saw a team like that so far. So either there are good people using
What
it,
I'm
like
seeing,
Paul in side projects, or
yeah,
other
yeah.
teams saying we're thinking about using it.
Well, yeah. What I'm seeing is something in the middle where, like, the only thing engineers are working, like low performing cultures,
Mhm.
is like they are working on a production ticket, but they are solving it with an AI. And if they don't get stuck in some garbage hallucination in 2 hours, then they'll let it go to production. And if it does get stuck, then they abandon it and they do it by hand.
Mhm.
That seems to be like the most, let's say, the most common. I mean, I do have a small sample size on this, right? So if I'm like talking about like first-hand experience shadowing these kinds of engineers, sample size is very large. Like most people that I work with don't do this, but I think from anecdotal evidence or from empirical evidence, I can say that this seems to be like the most organic way to
Mhm.
explore AIs. It's like, okay, let's try it with Claude. If the output is good, I'll keep it. I have to say that I saw a chat move. Oh, that was you. Okay. Oh no, no, Tim.
No,
We
no,
have Tim.
we have actually Frida with a question.
Yeah, and it was
Finally, we
addressed
have
at
Emmanuel
you.
saying hello.
Yeah, let's. So that's Siva Kumar and Emmanuel. That's old comments. I don't know. There was like a lag.
But it sounds fresh. For it's okay to have that.
Yeah. Wait, sounds right.
It sounds fresh.
Frida's comment was addressed at you. Could you maybe address it, and then we can read out
Yeah, okay. So
Tim's
Frida's
comment.
asking, asking, prompting is a part of your code to be exceptional. Tell us more about Cloud Code. Is it suitable for prompt engineering? Um, so I would say that I'm not thinking that way. Just to be clear, I don't think that I am exceptional because I can prompt. Because it doesn't make me more or less exceptional or good or bad as I was before. So I'm doing coding now since 32 years and 16 years as a professional entrepreneur, doing that every day, day and night, a little bit overworking, ADHD, like, right? So I see myself as a person who's seen a lot of things during trenches, doing a lot of overnight things. I was managing all deadlines. I was pushing through those things. I learned it the hard way. That made me, let's say, to the degree I am successful today. Not the AI. The AI is very new. It is just about a fraction of my time where I use
Mm-hmm.
the AI. 50% of the time I was experimenting so far with AI was crap and garbage
Yeah.
output. I was deleting so much. At least in June, I spent $400 on my account for my computer on Cloud Code for production purposes, which I at least 50% I deleted again because I am learning. I am experimenting with those kind of things. Some things I take over and I learn, and the number gets better over time. So in the beginning, it
Mm-hmm.
was way worse, right? And so that's the first thing. So I don't think AI makes people exceptional. I
Mm-hmm.
think AI, when you are good, it can scale that to some degree. So if you are in an environment like a startup where you need to generate a lot because you actually need to get things out, right? You need to produce stuff. So more on the producing side,
That's
like many
also a
founders
common
are.
fallacy. I wouldn't encourage that.
It's 100% true. Sorry, it is 100% true. And if you are in my space with all the founders out there, you will have the very same thing, and you will have it. This is the reason why I asked for how large are the companies, because there is a little gap. On some point in time, it suddenly stops, and we have that as well because we have multiple businesses and we have code bases which are very slow. We talk and discuss with clients for days, and we code for 10 minutes. That's a big thing for 10,000 euros, and that's it. So I agree there. But when you build up a new solution, it's a different story. You need to produce, right? So that's the difference. And there, AI can, when it comes to Gen AI, help a lot and make you. And it, as I said, it helps you in reviews, and so that's the part. But it doesn't make you exceptional. Just to be clear.
So
and the other thing is to
go for it. Go for it. You have two things.
The other thing is it suitable for prompt engineering? So Cloud Code is right now probably still the best tool to do it because you have this plan mode. It's a little bit expensive, but if you want to do that, it's probably the best code tool.
What I learned from just playing around with it and then had it confirmed by Paul Hammond, who joined us on the previous stream. Frida, if you want to check that out, the TDD on front-end episode that we had with Paul Hammond on as a guest, where we did this, which you're asking now. So Paul is an exceptional engineer who's used Cloud Code to help him code, but also prompt engineer. So on this prompt engineering side, Cloud Code, as far as I'm concerned, I haven't tried GPT-5 too much yet. It was like super unavailable, buggy. I don't know. I don't want to I'm a late adopter when it comes to these things. I'm on Mac OS Sonoma, right? So it's like, just get out of my way.
I don't even know how the current one is called.
Like if I need to reboot my machine, it's a symptom. You better.
I have Sequoia. Okay.
Yeah. So when it comes to prompt engineering, Cloud Code still seems to be the best tool out there for writing text in English. I don't know if the language is important, but just for writing structured text, it's very good. And writing structured text iteratively, it is extremely good. Now, what happens to be text is also prompts. So Cloud Code, the tool, is very good at helping you prompt engineer. Right, so you can take like a ChatGPT prompt, and you can put it into Cloud Code, and you can ask Cloud Code to help you improve the prompt, to give you feedback on it, to review it, to give you advice, to compress it down, to maybe optimize its token usage, and then reorder it, reformat it, and then put it back. So what Paul mentioned that was really interesting because it like echoed experiments that I have run myself as well, which is, hey, I'm stuck here. You started hallucinating. Stop. Give me a full context dump and tell me what I should prompt you with next time so that we can continue. And then I don't continue. I take that context dump, I put it into Cloud Code, and then I ask Cloud Code, okay, now clear out anything that's unclear, no wishy-washy language, just give it to me straight, assuming it is meant for a machine, not for me. And then I take that output and I put it back into ChatGPT. So using Cloud Code for your prompt refinement, I highly recommend. I don't know if that was your question. It seems like English isn't your first language, so I could interpret your question in several multiple ways. If this wasn't, forgive me for reading too much into it, but I think this is, even if this wasn't your intended question, I think this is something very valuable. That's like an unexpected win of, yes, there are tools that are helping you get better at prompt engineering without you having to be a good prompt engineer. However, there's a caveat here. Considering what, I just want to hide this, okay? Because it's, hang on, give me a moment. With what Adrian said, it takes an exceptional engineer who is good at prompting to potentially produce okay code. If you're an average
Usable
engineer,
code. Usable code.
Usable code. Yeah, maybe not even good, just usable code, like just barely passing standards. If you're an average engineer and you think you need to become an exceptional prompter, that's La La Land. That's not going anywhere. So you're not going to the solution later or more slowly. You're never getting to the solution. So your solution space will constantly be, it looks good, but not quite what I want. It looks good, not quite what I want. And then it just falls off a cliff. And then you can invest as much time into it as you want, and it will never improve beyond a certain baseline rate of failure, right? And then we even saw empirical evidence that as context windows balloon, the amount of hallucinations increase.
Yeah, because the gaps become wider. Because
context windows on the inference side.
Yeah. I would like to add something here because I think it's important. AI doesn't hallucinate. AI basically fills gaps. And the problem is, and I saw that so much in my own, because I've really done that extensively because I wanted to know. Every time I had the feeling that Claude Code or GPT-5 now, which is definitely better than Claude Solid 4 is doing, every time I had the feeling that's definitely what we could call a hallucination on LinkedIn. It is in reality a gap I have never defined, and the code base isn't reflecting, the pre-context and the global context is not reflecting. So instead of the AI saying, I don't know, what should I do, it do something. That is the problem. AI, there's always something in the box.
I've seen ChatGPT 5 now, not my own experience, secondhand. I've seen reports that ChatGPT now interrupts itself more and says, I don't know. Did you want X, Y, and Z?
Exactly. So we saw that yesterday in the stream. I was taking a look at the log again, and it was actually telling me I can't fix the test. There's something you need to take over now and test.
Yes. That's very valuable, and maybe that's the thing that.
Sorry, that was Claude Code. Still Claude Code.
Yeah. But so Tim also said, I frequently ask review my prompt, what more do we need before we can move to the next milestone? I agree. I do this a lot. Claude Code works very well for me. Tim, I don't know if this was in context with Claude Code. What are you using, Tim? If you could. By the way, Tim Ottinger, if you don't know him, it's like a premier expert on extreme programming, pairing, etc. I just sensible agile practices. If you're not following Tim, please check out his LinkedIn. We have a few more questions, and I'm not sure where to start addressing them. So when it comes to, so I liked your tangent right now on AI doesn't hallucinate, it just fills gaps. I actually like the word hallucination. And I like using it backported onto human practices.
No. You pull the responsibility to the AI that the AI has a deficiency and hallucinates, like an illness, but it isn't. It is your laziness.
Okay.
It is.
In the way that we have expanded the semantics of the word hallucination with the AI usages, I like using this semantic meaning of the word hallucination backported onto human processes, right? So what we generally call speculative generality, or the developer spending way too much time polishing implementation without understanding the user's needs. I like now using the words. It's like, hey, maybe we hallucinated here and the user doesn't need this. It's like, hey, I think product is hallucinating a bit here. I don't think there's confirmed demand for this feature. Can we make sure that it was actually a request, not a wish, that we're not hallucinating? I like using this. Maybe this is just me being a millennial, but I like using the word in such a way that it applies to, hey, can we make sure that we're not hallucinating, that the demand is confirmed, that we're not over engineering here, that we're not hallucinating some use case that.
Are you a Xennial?
I what?
A Xennial.
What's that?
That's the micro generation in between Gen X and Millennial. The people who grew up with a dialing telephone and had internet when they are adults. This generation. That's me.
Adrian, I'm 36.
I thought you were older than me.
Gee, thanks.
wiser, longer beard normally. Have we gone through all the comments of Tim? And there's another one of
No. We
Ladders?
have 2 more comments from Tim for which we need to scroll up for, and I think you and I both started them at the same time, so we unstarted them. So I just want to go back to Tim's. So Tim's comment, the first one after free does, is the one that we haven't addressed yet. So Tim says the LLM is a stranger submitting code changes to your code base. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It's just important to remember that the code comes from somewhere and it's not your house. I think this is a very good attitude to have.
And I would like to add something to that one because
it was
so
a 2-part comment. Just let me read it out. Without microcommitments and small steps, the LLM is likely to make disaster faster, but it's darn useful in its way. Remember, they don't understand what they're doing.
There is no. You phrased it in the past with it doesn't understand time and place, right? It doesn't. It's not part of your team. It is just an LMM. It's fired up, and as I said, even if you are in the same session but 2 context windows, you have 2 different persons who never were in the same room, and it is a little bit like that's one. Yeah, that's actually a big issue, and you need to treat the AI in the moment like everything in your prompt needs to cover what you actually need in this next iteration. And that's the reason why an iteration should be small batch sizes. We have that in XP, we have that in continuous delivery. Everywhere we should have small batch sizes. And especially when you go for TDD, go test by test. Still, it is mostly a good thing to do it like that. And yesterday we saw nicely how I felt in that one, because I preach those things and I don't do it myself. Great. And I don't want to assume how many people are actually doing that. And that's very bad. You shouldn't do this. You need to be, I think, let's say, small iterations and good prompts are the 2 most important things you need to start with, no matter how exceptional you think you are with AI.
However, small iterations, like small batch sizes, have a time component. I can't spend 2 weeks creating a small batch. So, like, even to a human, I have to explain this. That we get small batches by saying, like, if it didn't happen in 2 hours, we probably don't understand the problem. So use it as a signal. Like, use being stuck as a signal to say, hey, okay, 2 hours, no progress, cool, break it down. Stop what you're doing, break it down, restart. Restart smaller, right? So it's like, save it for later, Alt F4, delete, start from scratch, and smaller. Right, so and this is the discipline that engineers lack. Right, so I often have for writing, for example, I have an AI agent that's been configured to assist me, like in a Pomodori session. So I say, we have 25 minutes, just help me fix this problem. And I constantly, in every single prompt, I have to tell it how many minutes have passed. Because if I don't do it and I keep that agent open, I will talk to that agent for every Monday for months and has no idea about how much time has passed in between prompts. So I consistently tell it, hey, it's a new week, we're starting, here's minute 0. And then it will help me. It's like, okay, 10 minutes have passed. And then when I keep telling it to help me, because this is a Pomodori session, it will say, okay, we're out of time. The AI will tell me, okay, we're out of time. Here's a simple solution that should give you 80% to what you want. Was this helpful? And then usually it is, right? But I really need to be a hard ass about, hey, this is a Pomodori session. I have a time limit, and I will let you know what time it is every single freaking prompt. Right? That's really useful. And I wish people use that prompting strategy for TDD as well. It's like, don't tell me to give me the solution, and then if it's the wrong solution, keep drilling down the rabbit hole. No, tell the AI, hey, it's 5:10. We have 10 minutes to make progress. If we don't make progress, we will revert, stop, and change the plan.
So you basically make deadline-driven development with your AI, but it's not a human, so you can pressure it, right?
No, so I'm giving it a source information that it doesn't have access to, that I am implicitly always aware of. For example, if you're coding, for example, you have a meeting was scheduled to be 1 hour long. The last 5 minutes of the meeting, you start doing stupid decisions because you're in a rush. The AI isn't aware of that. So the AI isn't aware that your mode of operation has changed because of the implicit, like, subjective sense of time. Right? And the engineers are also feeling that. And the engineers are feeling that when they're coding on something and they're red just before they are about to go to lunch. Right? And what I'm saying is that if you're gonna use an agentic coding partner, just tell them this. It's like, hey, it's before lunch, we have 20 minutes, help me make an increment on this. So the AI then knows not to create like a 12-step plan that you won't have time to supervise. Right? So in that sense, it's very useful. So but again, don't anthropomorphize it. It's not a person. Just like, you're the person, you're the irrational, emotional being. Just tell it in advance what your intention is. It's like, hey, I only have 20 minutes. I only have 20 minutes. This needs to be sharp. Ideally, decision by the 10-minute point. And if we can't get there, we'll have to stop. I'm sorry.
And every prompt I do in the beginning, sorry, go ahead.
And this is exactly how we would communicate respectfully as somebody who has been professionally trained to hold efficient meetings. Right? But you
first.
Yeah, but you need to bring that intention and write it down and put it into the prompt. Otherwise, you're just gonna, invite the LLM to help you on a,
that is
Wizard
filling the
of
gaps,
Oz.
actually. That's filling the gaps. So I saw that very often. So I showed it yesterday. I make something like a to-do, what I want to do, and then the preamble, which is the intention. So what is the goal here? And even if you forget things, the AI is smart enough in many cases to understand and translate from the goal missing gaps. If you don't do that, it will still do something with the gaps, but it's way more off than you want to have it. So that is very important. Try to explain it like to a human what you want to do, because that revalidates when you read it again if that actually makes sense. Because even if you read it 5 or 10 minutes after you have written it, it reads differently than in the moment you write it. That's very important. And that is a good first thing. And especially when you then get the planning mode of Cloud Code, which is still a feature I miss in Junipro. So Tim Oettinger is talking about Junipro. I'm a big fan of Junipro as well. But it is not as good as Cloud Code when it comes to switching those modes. It's a little bit different. But that is very important to take a look, to really read. Don't be lazy. Read what the plan will be from the AI, right? And go through it and say, no, I want to have this differently. You misunderstood that. And don't explain it like the shortest way possible. Explain it in a way a human would understand why this is wrong. Right? That helps a lot.
So, for example, this article by Tim talks about clean state. And this is a AI prompt engineering version of the TDD mantra of start from green, right? So your Git status needs to be 0 unchanged files. If we run the test, they need to be green. If we're not in that state, I'm hitting the red button, which is I'm calling a meeting and I'm trying to figure out why the team has left trunk in a red state, right? And you can do that with the AI as well, because normally, as a professional engineer who was trained to do this, you would do this with humans as well. The problem is that most engineers aren't doing this behavior. It's like, hey, check it out, run the tests. If there's no changes, everything should be green. If that's not the case, we have a huge problem, right? So a lot of engineers aren't running at this level of discipline, and then it's new to them when they have to explain it to an AI. And I also like, Git restore. Hey, if we make, this is TCR in a way, Kent Beck's experiment that didn't really take off, which is make an assumption, right? So say, I'm red right now. I wrote a test. I need to implement something. I think what I wrote solves the problem. You make an assumption. You say, I assume green from now on. I assume before you run the test, you say, I assume green. You run the test. If it's green, it creates a commit. If you are wrong, it reverts your changes and you have to start from scratch. Right? And I think this TCR style of coding is what I think should be a minimal standard right now for LLMs, which is you made a change, cool. If you had a 12-step plan, on every single plan, run the tests and make sure, okay, are you assuming to be red? Good, then it's fine. You create a new test that's failing. Good. Are you assuming to be green here? Well, if you're assuming to be green and you're not green, stop. Let's do it again. Let's go back. Let's go back to the stable red state, or let's go back to the green state before we run the test. Okay, I think that's most of Tim's comments.
We have one actual question now.
So Vladas?
Yes.
So Vladas says, should teams make architecture decisions considering the limitations of AI? I'm not seeing how this question is relevant to.
It is actually very well discussed already. Not by us, but by others.
So that you would have to, so that you would prompt it to prefer one architecture or the other.
No, I think how I understand the question is you hear that all over the place right now. This is
I see. Due to the token usage.
Yeah, there is this movement right now. In the last 3 years, we had a strong movement away from microservices to monolith. Everyone said start.
Now I get it.
Start with a monolith. But today, somehow, people tend to say, yeah, but AI contexts do little microservices and do smaller things, smaller repos to actually get it done easier.
Very good question. I didn't give this. I need to think about this more.
So it's a topic since a week, actually. Yeah.
So the hypothesis is that a monorepo, the assumptions under which the monorepo would be built would require the LLM to hold a lot of context. And then that context window would bait it to more hallucination and lower quality responses. So the question is, should we optimize our software architecture in such a way that it makes it easier to prompt AIs in them?
Exactly.
I don't think that's a good idea.
No, it is not. So
right now, I haven't given this a lot of thought. My gut feel is that
you actually don't
build it for the humans first, and then if you can squeeze out some benefit to the AI, that's good.
No, you start an AI in a root. So, or a root you define. So if you have a monorepository with, let's say, one main root and 5 subfolders, something like that, let's say, one front end and 4 little services, let's say, or a monolith, let's say front end, back end, simple thing. And you basically start one agent in the front end and the other in the back end, because most people don't do full stack or even full stack these days.
We need to talk about what kind of monorepo. You just said front and back end monorepo.
That is the simplest version of that one.
In my experience, the most frequent monorepos are when a fleet of back-end microservices and middleware is held in a single gargantuan repository. That's what
usually is a scaled version of that one.
Yeah. So
usually, but the minimal version is 2, right?
So a lot of conversations that I'm having, the big monorepo fleet of microservices or like a giant monolith that it's like a modular monolith usually doesn't have front end or micro front ends. There are exceptions. Spotify I think is the best example of doing both. I just want to call it out, like people understand different things when we say monorepo and modular monolith.
What I would like to say is the idea that the architecture should follow the way how you implement code doesn't make much sense, because the architecture does follow different principles and different ideas or different benefits or those kind of things. You can, or a agent should adopt to the style you're working with. And if you tend to, let's say, if you tend or leaning towards vibe coding, so black box coding, you say, I want to have my agent doing the entire work like a front end thing, and the API should be created as well. It should touch the middlewares. It should even do the schema things, Prisma, ORM layers, everything in between, even the infrastructure layer in infrastructure as code. If you want to have that full stack approach, it is actually a very bad idea to do so anyway, because as we said, hallucination, bad assumptions, as Kaloyan is saying that.
And you're not testing like that anyway.
It is simply not working. AI is not capable of doing that. And so Vladas is actually, this concern is correct, or the question, should we or should we not? No, the token sizes aren't good enough. So what you should do is instead slice your work, basically virtually. So you can, and we do that as well. We basically have a microservice architecture on the backend side. On the front end side, it's basically one big front end, and we basically say we have the front end part, and we have a GraphQL API as a layer in between, and the AI on both sides know this layer as a communication layer in between, but it doesn't know what happens on the other side as long as we not explicitly ask to do that. So you can even say you are allowed now to go into another directory, which is not your root, and read files there to understand your issue better here right now. And that you can allow petitionally, but you don't need for that
you did this yesterday.
architecture.
I saw you do this yesterday. I don't think you explained it, but you did implicitly like folder yourself this way when you were coding.
That's possible, yes. But I did that today actually with another feature where
if you check out Adrian's profile, Adrian's events, you can check out the live stream Adrian did yesterday with Cloud Code. I think you'll see a demonstration of that which what Adrian you are discussing right now.
Yeah.
Osman had a response to Vladas. Vladas, only do microservices if you have a scale problem. Otherwise, you're fine with a modular monolith.
There are other reasons to go for microservices. That's the typical.
I would
lean
microservice as well. Like I would lean microservice. I wouldn't
because in reality, you can do microservices in a JavaScript world with Nest.js, where it's actually a monorepository in a monolith, but you deploy it as microservices. That's a different thing. You don't basically develop it in the original sense of one service or multiple services per team in ownership. So the problem is it's a little bit like a terminology problem. People think when they see the terminology
project that has multiple build targets, and then each build target is its own server with a server.
Yeah, it is its own folder as well, and you have some form of
Next.js is like that as well, actually. So Next.js isn't really full stack. It's like one project that has multiple build targets, and then
you mean Next or Nest.js now? Nest. You mean Nest, not Next. You mean the class-based Nest.js. I meant Nest.js. It is basically thinking in microservices in form of a deployment target, but you develop it in more in form of a monolith, which is a great combination of both worlds.
It looks like a modular monolith, but then you build.
Exactly, it is a modular monolith, but you can
microservice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's very good to develop it. For example, another example is we work for enterprises and B2C clients. It's same software, very strange, but we have restrictions.
Microservices is multiple deployments at a certain level of scale. This distinction is meaningless because I can say, like, regardless of how you store code. That was his follow-up. I think this is overly simplistic because what I can say is I have green-blue deployments and canary deployments. So I can have one module, one service, a very small one, that's part of a monolith. I need to deploy that into 7 different regions and 7 different colors of the server. It's not helpful to me to have that distinction, right? So when you're looking at it from the deployment lens, the modular monolith and the microservice strategy and the traditional monolith, they all look the same. They all have exactly the same deployment pattern. And they all have the deployment pattern of microservices. So whichever you're doing, it'll always look like microservices. Because you will always have multiple nodes of something sharded out, a smaller sub-module being built out of the solution with a smaller binary with a read-only copy of the replica, or the master node is slightly different than the read slaves. So there will always be like this discrepancy to think about it that way. But really where the distinction between modular monolith and microservices comes in is how your teams, when they're building software, how they are reasoning about cohesion, right? So how they are reasoning about, are we allowed to touch this in the same commit, or are we not allowed to touch this in the same commit? That's the real distinction. And if you want to build a modular monolith because you want to encourage your AI to touch as many things in as many different projects as possible, as fast as possible, I think that's Again, empirically, I think that's just going to be a net negative for you, while also slowing down the human operators, the human engineers, or anybody, any human involved in product engineering.
It's, by the way, it is the core reason why so many backend devs say AI doesn't help them, while the typical Next.js React developer says it's so valuable, because most, I would 99% upwards React projects are monolith, right? And
good point. Very good point.
and backends are very often scattered. You have then other layers like ORM layer. You have,
and there are
you
core
have Redis
layers
or
and
Keyval
library
or something like that.
layers and middleware
Kafka.
layers.
CQRS, those kind of things. That is like you have so many instances where the AI simply cannot oversee or even test those. It is not like reading a code base. It is
There's
understanding
a testing boundary.
handovers, right? Yeah.
There's a testing boundary where you say, if we spin up this and that at the same time, we consider that an end-to-end test, because it already involves so much infrastructure.
Yeah.
It's a very good point, actually. Yeah, that's a very good point. I used to work in a system that was like very little code, but a lot of infrastructure concerns for advertising, right? So we have integrations. So if you spun up the whole backend, it could, in theory, communicate with thousands of different platforms. And there were workflows, some of which spanned hundreds of them, right?
It's even hard to test those.
It's hard to test those.
Hard testable environments.
It's hard, it's hard to draw a boundary, which is, okay, well, if we have to cross the threshold where we talk to these services, we consider that end-to-end, even if it's still all backend, even if it's still all in memory on the backend side. It's just too many infrastructure concerns, and we need to slice it up. Like, we can't just have everything potentially talk to everything else in the system at the same time. And you see this a lot with integration concerns with no-code or low-code platforms. They have these kinds of problems where there's this like central core that's very abstract, very generic, and then you can configure everything, kind of quasi-configure everything with everything else. And the combinations of things, of how they can be configured, that creates the complexity. So you want to limit the boundaries in such a way that the number of configurations is limited already. And that's what you call one unit of behavior, and that's what you then test. And you want to limit that, actually. Like, if you want the AI to be more performant, you want to limit how little things it has to know about. We get this discrepancy as well. I had a comment today with one of my teams, and usually the more junior people on the team ask this. It's like, hey, we're now thinking about, making work more visible, and we're imposing limits on ticket sizes, right? So we're saying, hey, like, a ticket can't, like, we have epics and tickets, and an epic can't be longer than a sprint, and a ticket can't be longer than a day. And then there was this question by one of the juniors, one of the mids, and they asked, shouldn't it be okay for us to have multiple epics to guarantee success, epics to span multiple sprints to guarantee success, and then a ticket at most be one sprint long? Wouldn't that be reasonable, because we see evidence of this being legal behavior right now? They like structure, this person who asked this question. And they ask, we already see evidence of us enabling this behavior. Shouldn't we allow what we're doing right now to be compatible with the new system that we're introducing? And we all jumped on it and said, no. We don't care how big the ticket is or how big the estimate is. What we have issue with is the behavior that we're enabling. Right? What we're trying to fix is how the engineers behave, not what's in the bureaucracy, not what's in Jira. We want to influence the engineers to communicate and say, hey, I cannot show visible progress today. Maybe what I'm working on is not clear to me. We want to encourage that, but that means we press the button that stops work and that says no to new work much, much sooner. And that's why we want to work with AIs. Unrelated, perhaps, Jonathan Stark recently had a conversation about AIs, and in his newsletter, you can also see it, see him sort of bring it up. And you said this as well, Adrian, when you watch Claude Code in plan mode. Jonathan's comment was that sometimes I get the work done faster if I think I'll do it with the help of the AI, because explaining it to the AI requires me to create an SOP document, a standard operating procedure. It's like, how are we doing this? And being forced to write it down actually helps him do it faster by hand. So there is an element of explain it to the AI. The AI will create a plan. You will then say, no, that's not the correct procedure. The correct procedure is this. And then stop. And then say, you know what? You created a plan for yourself. The plan is actually really good, but I don't trust you to execute on it. I will take the plan and I'll do it myself. And that's how I'm sometimes prompting it for writing. That's how I'm sometimes prompting it for reorganizing my schedule. So I might say, hey, my calendar is too busy Thursday and Friday. Help me move one. And it'll create a plan, what it'll do, and what it will try to move, and what message it might send. And I say, you know what? That's cool. I'll do that by hand. Thank you for giving me the procedure. Right? So I think that kind of AI usage of just helping engineers have a better grip of their bureaucracy, that's probably one of the most frequent that I would recommend without even blinking. Same thing with, for example, something very niche that you have to do seldom. For example, removing a hotfix commit from a main branch after the upstream feature branch that fixed the bug in the other branch, if you're doing Git flow, has introduced it in a better way. Getting the right syntax for Git rebase to squeeze that one commit out without creating like a history screw up is really complicated. You ask the AI, it's like, hey, what's the correct sequence of Git commands? And it'll help you find out how to configure it in such a way that you don't lose your mind on it. So I think for that, those kinds of workflows, especially if you're using Juni or a Copilot, that you can prompt it immediately in the IDE where you already have a terminal open, that can be very valuable. Again, not so much for coding, but again, coding is not the bottleneck. So just let it help you with administrative tasks, let it help you with spotting anomalies. You do have to prompt it for like time or guardrails, or like, as Tim said, like starting from a clean slate.
I need to make an arena session live someday where I invite all the people, which I have in mind right now when you say coding is not a bottleneck, right? I need to invite them because it is like I can get 10 people here with totally different ideas of that is actually true or not. And I'm in between those both worlds because I am literally, physically in both worlds. But I know that that's actually an interesting topic because people work very differently with AI. And
we should talk about that. Yeah, it's like is coding the bottleneck? Yeah,
it is, because it is most often it is, but very often it's not. And the AI can do many things. All right, let's go over the comments. That's for another day.
Is it the longest one that we haven't yet from Tim? Generally, yes. Separate the verb. Separate things that change independently. If things change together, they belong together. If they change independently, then you split them up. That means you need them deployed independently. They may split your code base to support independence. A monolith is a good place to start with while you await strong design signals, well, other than splitting to CD and database and code. Count me in for that. Yeah, Tim's interested.
Yeah, cool. It is interesting. So I've talked to 2 founders today who have, let's say, teams of 5, something like that, and they are all concerned about the speed of development. Then I go to another company, which is mostly concerned because they have a huge transition from AWS serverless to GCP Dockerized environments, totally different migrations and these kind of things. They don't really code all day long. They try to understand what they actually need to do. For days, for weeks, right? And coding is more occasionally there. Yeah. So I understand that. I even understand it in our legacy code bases, which are 16 years old, where we have 7 server systems of different generations. So Windows servers, Apache servers, some 3 types of databases, these kind of things. And there you don't really code. You try to find a way to make something happen in a way.
What I
that-
use,
yeah.
Yes, we should talk to Tim and maybe set up like a roundtable session with him and similar like-minded people to discuss this.
Mhm.
When I said coding is not the bottleneck, what I'm talking about is that coding is very rarely the biggest bottleneck.
Yeah, but that's a better phrasing, because that is more like a relative thing, not an absolute thing. Because it's not an absolute topic.
It's possible that you have hired engineers who type at 10 words per minute. In that organization, coding is the bottleneck. Right? I've seen this. So I am one of those guys that if we're pairing and you type 10 words per minute, it is like I become a really terrible person. Like I can't help myself. Like if I like
if you do pair programming with this guy, there he is. Like, if you do pair programming with this guy and you don't use hotkeys, he's blaming you all day long and forcing you to install plugins to use hotkeys more.
Key Promoter X is the best plugin in the world, right? Key Promoter X is what I do as a plugin. It's like
the best thing you can do when you work with this guy, you disconnect this device very early on in the process and only use this device, right?
I'm not saying you should use NeoVim, but maybe you should use NeoVim. I'm not a NeoVim user, by the way, but I like using the keyboard.
I like using WebStorm still.
Key Promoter X, for those that aren't aware of it, is an IntelliJ plugin that whenever you use your mouse and you click a button, if that button has a hotkey, it'll give you like a huge pop-up saying, hey, there's a hotkey for that. You clicked it 1,300 times already. This is the hotkey.
I hate that, because on Mac you get this, it's on F12, and you look on your keyboard, and I don't have an F12 key. And then I just that's a weird thing, why JetBrains is somehow not understanding that the F keys on most Macs aren't actually working. That's
I did have this issue when I started working. I really emphasized code typing speed, but I wasn't, as Tim is mentioning, when you get down to coding, touch typing is crucial. I wasn't touch typing the normal way. I had like my own style of how I hold the keyboard, and it made it very difficult to like do brackets and curly braces in certain areas. So every time I typed like some algorithm, when I got to the curly brace, like I would just like do this like brain fart moment where I had to, because I was on a European Slovenian keyboard that had accents, and it required 3 fingers to do the curly brace. So one of the big transitions for me was to also encourage this practice of, hey, whenever we're coding, we're all using English typesets. So the curly braces are accessible on 2 fingers, on one hand. And if you're using Dvorak, you can do it with 1 finger.
This is the most Americans don't understand why Europeans have so much problems actually typing brackets without breaking their fingers. That's a really annoying thing.
For most Europeans, doing the curly brace requires 3 fingers.
On Windows,
On Windows, yeah. And you have to switch yourself over to an English or a British layout to get the same thing with the at sign, the tilde, underline.
If you are a Windows user and you want to type in an email on a Mac, you basically close your application because it's basically Alt quit. And you are out.
Because I'm not a native English speaker, right? And I'm from a country in Europe that has accents on the keyboard, and I'm also from an ethnic minority, so I'm used to having like Slovenian, Hungarian, and German as swappable layouts on my keyboard. And most of the Shift, Alt, Shift, Control hotkey combinations conflict with whatever you have in your IDE because they switch the freaking language layout. So it has, like, as an engineer, you had to untrain yourself from like the school training and actually go in and say, no, when I'm in my IDE, I'm in English layout, and don't change the don't change the layout.
Mhm.
And Windows, for a very long time, didn't have per window layouts. The layout was global. So if you opened your email Outlook and it was Slovenian, your IDE was also in Slovenian. If your email program was in German because you were writing an email, your IDE was also in German, which means that the periods were in a different location, the special characters were in different locations, the parentheses were in a different location, and required a different modifier on a different side of the keyboard. So
for someone like me, what is touch type? I don't know what that term is. What is that?
So touch typing is that you're not. So there's two things. Like touch typing, just like vaguely, is you don't look at your keyboard when you're typing. Now, some people look at their keyboard.
Okay.
So
now I know what you mean. Touch.
Some people look at their keyboard to know what key they're on. Right. So if I hide the keyboard, even they think that they don't look at the keyboard most of the time, they actually can't type. Because they cannot find the home row without looking at it at least once every 20 keystrokes. And then there's the professional touch typing, which is the 10-finger touch
10
typing,
finger typing, yeah.
which is if you see your keyboard, the F key in a general international layout, the F key and the J key have like two lines. Those are your home rows, and your index fingers are meant to be on those two buttons. So if you're doing 10-finger touch typing, you have been trained in such a way that your fingers naturally find the home row. And then you can actually type blind. So I can remove all the letters from your keyboard. And I can even hide the keyboard under the table, and you can type at your normal speed. Most people don't touch type like this. And if you're an engineer, it's enough that you never look at your keyboard and you don't have to do the 10-finger thing. But I think most engineers do look at their keyboard every now and then to find something. And that's
it is for me. So we call it 10 finger basically in German. So I wasn't aware of this touch typing thing. The thing is, for me, the funny thing is, as soon as I sit a little bit like this in typing, sometimes I don't hit the brackets anymore, and I'm looking at what's going on. I need to sit again. So I have real problems like doing this. But sometimes I do this. So a little bit like that. But normally you should. I think I'm a big fan of. You should be able to type freely. In what way you want to do that, it doesn't matter.
Tim just mentioned, looking for the F for the 17th time this hour. That's time waster and distraction. How many times in a year have you looked for the F key? So coming back to our discussion, yes, when I say coding is not the bottleneck, that's actually just poorly phrased. What I mean is that coding is very rarely the biggest bottleneck in the organization.
Yes.
Right. So the coding is a big bottleneck if all of your engineers are extremely slow typers. Then
I'm just coding 2 or 3 hours a day for myself, right? And most of my colleagues do like that. So it is definitely not a bottleneck, because otherwise people would say sit there the all day long and push everything else away. But most of my thing is talking to clients, talking, going about feedback and those.
My dad was an entrepreneur in like traditional factories. If we're talking about bottleneck queue systems, then we're measuring lines of code per day as a key metric, like the number of lines produced in a day. Right. So if the code was the bottleneck, we would be monitoring that. And some people, especially the people who have skin in the game about selling AI products to you, they will say, oh, 25% of our code is being generated by AI. Yeah, but who thinks about it that way? Who thinks about their product as we have churned out 10,000 lines of code today, and 25% of them were AI generated? It's like, no, it's not a bottleneck. Like, it's not a race. If anything, it's a race to zero. Like, we want to figure out how to make code so cheap that we don't have to write it, that we wouldn't have to type those 10,000 lines of code. And again, to echo on a little bit, I know we're over time.
What was a good topic today?
It's a very good topic, and my kids are at the grandparents, so I'm I'm home alone. For freedom. Freedom. Wait, I have a hunch, Adrian.
What? No.
That there were some LinkedIn messages that didn't make it to StreamYard, and I think Tim or somebody responded to a question, and I just want to verify whether that's correct.
Since when you don't trust LinkedIn feeds?
No, the LinkedIn API and with regards to StreamYard has been very, very shoddy lately. Okay, so Stefan asked a question. I don't see Stefan. It's Key Promoter X. Yeah. Oh, you saw it. Oh, it's LinkedIn user. Oh, so it's private. Okay. Yeah, that's it, I think. Okay, cool. But I'm glad we cleared that up. So, and Stefan, that's an IntelliJ plugin. So that's for the WebStorm, yada, PHP Storm, Sea Lion. It's for that ecosystem, Goland. When it comes to AI in Teams, what I have started doing, now going back to our topic, when it comes to typing, and I'm coaching them, I have asked them to turn off the freaking shadow ghost prompt. Specifically the one that is multi-line.
I hate them actually as well. I still have them turned on because sometimes
the
I need them.
amount of grief that
Yeah.
it causes everybody on the team, because somebody is screen sharing and they're typing something, and then the AI jumps in and it's like, hey, I think you want to write these 7 lines of code. And then we were discussing something and everybody stops and everybody looks at what the AI just spat out. And it's so disruptive. And it's so disruptive that people don't even notice. Their brain just shuts off, goes into a completely different mode. It's like goes into code review mode. And I had to record it and show it to them. It's like, guys, look, like 10 seconds have passed. And then the AI spat something out and we stopped talking. This is not okay. So it's one of those things that I noticed is a little bit of yes, you individually can claim that it's helping you, but overall nobody on the team benefits from it. Like,
no, what I saw is it really in IntelliJ actually it really turns me up. It's because off actually. It is so disruptive when it comes to auto completion. So it is laggy. It is not like very fast. And then you assume the autocomplete of the IDE comes up, and then you go ahead. Then your cursor jumps, and that's the most annoying part for me. That distracts me because I have the intention to type something, but it doesn't happen. Something else happens. And then that's a little bit too much. And this is the reason why I just right now deactivated it in the moment we were talking.
I have it deactivated as well. I
know.
like the local LLM. So on Silicon Max, IntelliJ is running a local LLM where it is running a mini LLM, like a very small token space LLM, to help you find the context menu you were looking for. But otherwise, if you're, by the way, this is now no longer AI topic, but if like I'm a zero waste nut when it comes to these kinds of things, like keyboard über alles. And hey Tim, thanks for chiming in. We'll contact you regarding that session for that. Like, is coding the bottleneck arena, and we do a little round table. I think that's a great idea. If you can't touch type, you don't see the idea. If you can't touch type, you're looking at your keyboard so much that you're.
This is 2-finger typing. And this is how you do brackets then.
Bye, Tim. Thanks for chiming in.
This is 2-hand bracket typing.
That's hilarious. No, but what I lost my train of thought. What was I saying?
You have focus issues, isn't it?
Maybe I should learn how to touch type. No, I've been typing while we were talking, with one finger. No, so not AI related. Yes. If you're in the IntelliJ ecosystem, there is this cheat sheet. So Java has champions, the Java space. And this championing the Java people is sponsored by IntelliJ. So every now and then there is a workshop on a Java conference that has the Java or the Kotlin champions or whatever. They come in and they have a 1-hour workshop on IntelliJ features. So not on how to write code, but on all the secret hotkeys and functionalities of IntelliJ. And it's freaking amazing. So on IntelliJ, for example, one of the biggest aha moments that I share with people is that you can contextually hit a menu option with its camel cased is it acronym? Yes, with the camel cased acronym, right? So if I have a camel cased function name called get user details, maybe that's like far at the bottom of the
I know what
context
you mean.
window.
Auto-completion.
So auto-completion. So you can just type GUD, right? So GUD, get user details, and you can hit period and type GUD enter, and it will be get user details.
Yes. This is how I navigate through the entire.
A lot of people don't notice,
right?
and when there's a context menu from code that you wrote, and you can parse it lexicographically, but you have to type out the entire thing just to narrow it down to one element. Usually the acronym shorthands are unique, even for very long text, and it saves a lot of keystrokes. Right? A lot of keystrokes, especially if you obsessively have like long component names, or long file names, or long class names, or long interface names.
And this is where IntelliJ really helps you. And even
really
with the code base over 200 lines of 200,000 lines of code, it still stays usable, because that is one of the issues with other like VS Code. In very large code bases, your auto-completion goes to hell.
It lags. Yeah, it lags. IntelliSense starts lagging. I mean, you're not supposed to use VS Code for that. You're supposed to use Visual Studio for that. But the problem is that VS Code is kind of looked at as the free version of IntelliJ, but IntelliJ is actually cheaper than Visual Studio. Like if you look at the actual correct tiering of the IDEs.
People don't talk about VS Code much anymore. It's more Cursor now.
I think it's the most popular IDE still, just because it's free.
It is,
but if you look at the state of JS, state of internet, and the Stack Overflow surveys, VS Code I think is the most used, but I think the IntelliJ IDEs are the most liked. So people are most optimistic about the IntelliJ IDEs. I think that has been the trend for the past few years.
I think people try to avoid it because it's actually looking like something very costly. Actually, in my opinion, it's not. It is actually very fair pricing, especially when you want to have a real IDE, so the original sense of an IDE, when you want to have a database tools, your Redis tools, everything, Docker, right? All these kind of clients you want to have in one environment, which is usable by a keyboard. That is great, and not switching between your tabs and taking a look at Docker Desktop and taking a look at some other client or even a Git client. I don't understand when people have dedicated Git clients. You can't have that. It's your
graphical Git clients. Even in the IDE, I don't understand it. Like
I don't do that.
Yeah, it's.
Just stay on one screen. Sometimes I really love it. Just work on my 16-inch MacBook at home, and I feel way more productive than having multiple screens. So I used to have 3 screens. Another screen is now standing next to me in a room somewhere because I don't want to have that many screens anymore. I want to have one thing which is doing the job, right? And then I want to switch to the output and switch to the input, and that's it. I don't want to have anything in between. That remembers me to the day where we have Eclipse PDD for PHP, and there was the browser in the first large monitors. There was the browser, a tab in the IDE. That was funny. It was crap actually, but it never.
I remember on like hard drives, Eclipse PHP and the specialized one. I think Aptana Studio.
Aptana
Studio was like the in between a specialized Eclipse, and then Zend rolled out their own branded Eclipse configuration. That one performed the best. But I remember on a hard drive, so on a non-SSD machine at work, I think Eclipse PHP on like a reasonably sized project with SVN, with Subversion integration. I think it took 15 minutes to boot up. So I would come to work, I would open it, and then I would go make a coffee.
Yeah,
And then by the time I was back, it was ready to work on. It was
crashing. So IDEs
or
were
crashing.
At least, so in all fairness, IntelliJ, from time to time, you need to clean up your idea folders because it becomes unbearable over a longer period of time.
And
You
the
need to
caches
clean
get
it up.
corrupted, and they,
And especially when you start to use Cloud Code, it is not with Junie. With Junie, it's way better, but with an external code changer. So you have external code changes, and that a lot. That can basically destroy. It can destroy your IDE, which means you need to constantly clear cache, restart, because you think, oh, my file looks good. I can maybe commit that. And then you try to commit that, and something catches like the linter and says, no, you have 10 errors.
Also,
there's no error. But because yeah, go ahead.
There's also that element of like learning your tools. One of the issues in these like web SaaS based ecosystems is that there's a lot of people coding in JavaScript. I think JavaScript still is the most dominant ecosystem. Now TypeScript and similar languages. One of the culprits for poor performance, for poor hardware, like just tactile performance on your IDE and code writing, is you using npm. So npm is like a nuke for your hard drive, and if like every time you need to syntax
or npm,
np node package manager.
Yeah, I know. I understood npm.
So so just use the other alternatives. pnpm, yarn, I don't know, bun. I don't think is a drop-in replacement, but like the once you install React and a few more other things and some dev dependencies, your node modules become so big that if you then hook up Cloud Code and every now and then it starts installing some package that it says that it needs, or because it's found a bug and it solves it by updating one package somewhere, it'll kill your IDE. Like it'll just like frequent touching like the npm node modules black hole and those kinds of and every ecosystem has an equivalent of this. The .NET space has an equivalent of this. The Java space for a very long time had an equivalent problem of this.
Go
C++
install Font. Do you know Font Awesome?
Yeah.
Go install Font Awesome Pro with all packages into your system. And it is, I think, 5 gigabytes or something like that.
Yeah.
And it basically will kill your autocompleter. So when you look for an icon, you can go make a coffee, and then the autocompleter is finished. It is very annoying. And that's one of the nasty things about those kind of things. So there are limitations, of course, and that was the reason why we actually removed Pro from our projects. And the other one was we were too lazy to actually have it into our basically put it manually into our pipeline, and
what I'm seeing,
have a rate limiter there. That's another
going a little bit back onto the AI topic. What I'm seeing a lot of like unexpected benefits from AI usage is Gemini recently.
I never used Gemini.
So I have Gemini turned on all of my business accounts. So usually when I'm coaching a team, I'm also on their business account, on their Google account. And we usually have Gemini there. And I think they rolled out Gemini now, like some free credits for every business account in the world. And Gemini is very good at, if you can see everybody's calendar in the organization. I usually subscribe to everybody's calendar that interacts with me. Gemini is then very good at answering questions of, hey, when is this person next free? I need to schedule a meeting with Adrian. When is Adrian next free this week? And it's very good at just quickly answering this question. Because I don't want to look at your schedule and then brain parse it and then just AI, please tell me. Or, hey, I need to invite 5 people, but if one person can't make it, we'll do it with 4. Help me find an overlap. That's amazing. Like for Google Workspace in that area, I didn't find it to be too reliable on anything else. Like I asked it questions about my email inbox, hallucinates all the time, so not reliable yet. But for calendar, chef's kiss, really.
But
So
you're
for-
talking about administration, not coding, right now.
Of course, administration. But I'm a software. I'm in the engineering org, right? And oftentimes I lose time with administrative tasks. Same thing with MCPs from Linear, for example.
Mhm.
What Linear will do is that what I used to do is encourage teams to, for very complex projects, to build like some kind of master tracking issue that has a executive summary of like all the subtasks, a subtask that has a subtask, and then there's a related epic, and that has a subtask, and there's like 10 different people doing something. And at the end of the day, I have no idea what happened because I need to look at 3 different boards for 20 different tickets, and it just doesn't help me. What Linear started doing on their own, we have Linear Pulse, for example, and it will create an AI-generated executive summary of all the boards that you're subscribed to. And it doesn't require human input, right? So I create a ticket, you create a ticket, there's 10 other team members who create a ticket, and then it won't list the tickets. It will create a summary of what the AI thinks the tickets represent. So it will merge some, it will highlight them, it will prioritize them, and you get that as a short email at end of day. And I find that to be awesome because it saves me so much, like the stand up. I don't need the stand up. I don't need the sync, the huddle, the second sync, the engineering sync, the product sync, the early morning meetup. It can be really easy just with a few clicks to have like just executive overview of just retain some situational awareness about the topics that you care about or that your initiative that you set in motion. And nowadays, all of these big databases have MCPs, internal MCPs. Like Notion has it, Linear has it, Jira has it. Although Jira is really clumsy to use. StreamYard has it.
It kept its quality.
Sorry?
It kept its quality. It's important. Imagine
GitHub
you
has
would do
one.
it differently. That's not good.
GitHub has one. If you turn it on, so Google Workspaces have one. Miro has one. It's really good. Yeah.
I thought you don't like Miro. You want to do.
I don't like
everything
Miro.
with
I hate
Skeletor.
how Miro prices seats. But
That's another issue we have as a company as well. So if you want to have so in the past you had these fields where you can put in a invoice email address, and the invoice was sent to this email address, and everything was good. No problem with the tax manager. And now you have one seat because it's $40 or something like that, and you have it 10 times in 10 different solutions. So it's around let's say $400. And if you want to have like a tax person as well, you need to have basically twice the amount of cost just to get an invoice at the end of the month. And I hate this. This is a new thing, new hidden cost, which really annoys me because I literally, since we have everywhere where we can MFA, I literally need to download all the invoices myself as a founder. As a CEO at the end of the month and send it manually away. That's so annoying right now, and that's one of the reasons we are tending to go for annual payment just to have that off. That's the main benefit we actually have. That's not nice, to be honest, and that Miro is one of those.
Yeah, it is, and Slack as well now.
Notion, everything which actually uses Stripe as a payment.
Stripe works like that. Slack after the Salesforce acquisition. I think GitHub for Business has the same. GitHub for Enterprise works like that. So it's yeah, but again, it's a bit off topic. Let's talk about it next time. So we
are anyway at the end. So a little bit of off topic is always cool, then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Any more questions?
But it was good to be back.
The audience, there are still some people hanging up here. Any more questions? Any things you want to see in the future?
I think it's safe to say let's encourage questions to be sent to us, to the event, to chat right now, and we'll look at it and get an answer to you by the next episode. And if you have any episode suggestions, please let us know. And I'll queue up the Rausschmeiße-Musik. And we can...
In the moment we said that, 4 people left. Just saying.
You said it's the end.
This is the end. The only end.
Adrian, do you know what this music means?
Yeah. You need to go now, I think.
No, you need to
No. We need to go.
We need to go.
Let's go for a short debrief, and everyone else, see you. By the way, tomorrow, same time like this stream, I'm going to do a follow-up from yesterday, but in a real environment, not the artificial thing, everyone.
Awesome.
And before this guy makes the music even louder, we're going to go now. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.